The Value of Time, page 71 to page 80. Aspiring noble deeds and perfection is a sign of nobility. Then know that seeking the virtuous deeds is the end goal of those who strive, and that there are varying levels of good deeds. There are people who see virtue to be ascetics, whilst others see it as occupation with worship. In fact, the highest virtues are none other than combining knowledge and action. For when they are achieved, the person is raised to the highest status, for that is the aspired goal, and according to one's ambitions, opportunities arise. Thus, your ambition must be to seek perfection. Some people restricted themselves to asceticism, and others devoted themselves to knowledge, whilst yet others combined complete knowledge with complete action. However, not everything one desires is achieved, nor does every seeker find what he is seeking, nor does everyone who begins a praiseworthy matter complete what he began, and not everything one wishes for one achieves, or as the famous poet Abu Ghuddah said, and not every lover of goodness is a doer of it, nor does every doer of it complete it. But one must strive, and each will have that for which he was created for facilitated for him, and Allah, glory be to Him, is the giver of aid. Most important ways to gain time. Indeed, the most important ways of gaining time are organizing one's time and activities, avoiding idle useless gatherings, avoiding excessive curiosity in everything, keeping the company of the serious, intelligent, time-conscious people, reading about the eminent scholars, and then motivating biographies, such as the aforementioned ones, taking pleasure in gaining time and using it for academic achievement, engrossing oneself in the pleasure of reading and increasing one's knowledge and understanding, for that makes one realize the value of time and motivates one to conserve it, to gain it, and not waste it. Time is life. The rightly guided teacher and advisor Hassan al-Banna, may Allah have mercy on him, said, "Whoever knows the real value of time knows life itself, for time is life." The jurist and poet Omar al-Yamani, who died in 569, may Allah have mercy on him, said in a poem, quoted in his biography in Wafayat al-Ayan of Ibn Khaliqan, "If your capital is your life, then beware of spending it in what is not necessary. For between the alternation of night and day is a battle, the army of which brings wonders." The famous Egyptian poet Ahmed Shawqi also wrote, "One's heartbeats say to him, life is but minutes and seconds. Hence, build for yourself a legacy after its death, for a man's legacy is a second life." Hafsa bint Sirin, action is but during youth. The real and effective period of life is one's youth, for youth is the time for action and achievement, and production and contribution, when strength is abundant, ambition is high, and diseases, problems, and obstacles due to fewer commitments are fewer. The eminent Tabi'iyah Hafsan bint Sirin used to say, "O youth, exert yourself whilst you are young, for I believe action is only during youth." Imam an-Nawawi wrote in his valuable introduction to his important book Al-Majmu', "The seeker of knowledge must seek to learn during times of leisure and vitality, and in a state of youth, physical strength, aptitude of mind, and freedom from preoccupations, before the symptoms of incapacity." Imam Ahmed, "I likened youth to a thing I had in my sleeve, then it fell." A long life shortens day after day, yet you often forget that it is fleeting and will not return. So you do not use it and benefit from it, and you think it is ever long, lasting, slow, whilst the truth is far from that. Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, may Allah be pleased with him, said, I only likened youth to something I had in my sleeve, and then it fell. And he lived 77 years. For youth, even if extended, is little, and life, even if prolonged, is short. May Allah bless him who said, the adhan is made in the baby's ear at birth, while the prayer is delayed till his death, a sign that his life is short, just like the time between adhan and prayer. Another said, and between the boy's birth and his death, if one is honest with oneself, is a lifetime, for what comes is like what has passed, and it is but your little short time. The spread of intellectual laziness among students nowadays. It is unfortunate that intellectual laziness has become widespread among today's students, and they have come to prefer rest and idleness over striving and struggling. Luxury and all forms of useless curiosity have become a purpose of life for them, and pleasures have become a goal for them, such that they have no time left for studying and seeking knowledge. Their state has come to resemble that referred to by Imam Ahmad ibn Faris al-Razi, the philologist born in 329 AH, died 395 AH, may Allah have mercy on him, when he said, if you are harmed by the heat of summer, and the dryness of autumn, and the cold of winter, and you are distracted by the beauty of springtime, then tell me, when will you seek knowledge? Al-Alusi and his great concern for learning and knowledge. The eminent scholar Abul Ma'ali Mahmud Shukri al-Alusi al-Baghdadi, the grandson, man of letters, who died in 1342 AH, may Allah have mercy on him, was known for his extreme earnestness and conservation of time. He was distracted from his lessons neither by the heat of summer nor the cold of winter, and his students were often criticized and reprimanded for their lack of punctuality. His student, Shaykh Abd al-Athari, said about him, I remember that I missed his lesson one day when the weather was very unsettled. The wind was blowing severely, it was raining hard, and the ground was very muddy. Thinking that he would not attend the lesson. When I came to school the next day, he recited a verse of poetry in an angry tone. And there is no good in he who was obstructed by heat and cold. During old age, one is busier and weaker than during youth. Some imagine that their days would be less busy in the future, that there would be fewer problems and obstacles, and that they will have more free time than during the past youth. However, experience shows quite the opposite, dear reader, so let me quote to you from the one who experienced that and concluded. The older you get, the greater your responsibilities will be, the more relations you will have, the more restricted your time will be, and the lesser your energy. Time is more restricted after youth, and one's body is weaker, health is less abundant, vitality is lower, and duties and preoccupations are more numerous and more severe. Hence, make use of your time whilst it is available to you, and do not attach your heart to the unknown, for each stage has its own occupations, duties, and surprises. Some even stress the lack of days of happiness and the abundance of days of hardship. They say life is all 2 days. One is pleasures and one is hardships. They were not truthful, for life is 1 day of happiness and many days full of hardships and surprises. Youth is the time of striving and pleasures, and old age is the time of weakness and problems. Action, striving, strength, glory, achievement, and pure pleasures are sought during the time of youth, not during old age, which is the time for illness, worries, troubles, and problems. As the poet said, "Youth, where glory is achieved, in it we find pleasure, whilst there are no pleasures for the old." When old age and its illnesses affected Abu Uthman al-Jahiz, the famous author, he used to recite these two very sad verses of poetry about the incapacity, weakness, and illness of old age. Do you hope, when you are old, to be as you were during the days of youth? Your soul has deceived you. No used garment is like a new one. Do not be idle in worldly or religious matters. The successful wise person is the one who fills every second and every moment of his present life and time with some beneficial action. Sayyiduna Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, disliked idleness and wasting time with no benefit. He said, "I dislike to see any of you idle, with no action for this life or the hereafter." Time is the most precious property, yet the easiest to lose. May Allah have mercy on the pious minister and eminent scholar, Yahya ibn Hubayra al-Baghdadi al-Hanbali, who died in 560 AH, the Shaykh of Imam Ibn al-Jawzi, who said, "Time is the dearest thing you can concern yourself with conserving, whilst I see that is the easiest thing for you to lose." An article by Ustad Ahmed Amin on use of time and the effects of losing it. I read an article by Ustad Ahmed Amin, the well-known Egyptian author, who died in 1373 AH, under the title of Free Time, which he included in his book, Fayd al-Khatir, which I wished to include at the end of this treatise, with some editing, since it is very appropriate and useful. He wrote, "Thousands and thousands of students are staying home during their 4 or 5 month summer holidays. Have their parents reflected on how this long time may be spent on something that could be beneficial for their bodies, minds, characters, and their country? And half of this nation, women, remain at home, but how do they spend their free time? If time is the means by which we invest money, acquire knowledge, and improve health, how much of it have we wasted? And how many lifetimes are wasted in vain, with no action for this life, nor for the hereafter?" Among the effects of wasting time is the waste of resources, which could have been invested had it not been for neglecting time and ignoring how it could be used. For how much fallow land could have been cultivated, and how many companies could have been established, and how many various institutions could have been built and managed by using a portion of free time. Among the consequences of wasting time in our world is the unpopularity of books and abandoning of reading, and contentment with ignorance. For there are no spirits to feel the unbearability of ignorance, just bodies that find pleasure in rest. The effect in the realm of finance is the same as that in the realm of books, for there too one finds the same satisfaction with little, contentment with the ease, stagnation and contentment with clerical work and jobs that do not require any effort or use of mind. Thinking and effort are for foreign workers who are energetic and know how to use their time. I do not mean by conserving time that it should all be filled with work, or that life should all be seriousness and strife, with no rest nor leisure, or that it should be gloomy with no laughter nor happiness. Rather, what I mean is that free time should not exceed times of work, and that free time must not be the purpose of life whilst work is on the margin. Furthermore, I mean that free time should be subjected to the rule of mind just like work is, for through work we wish to achieve some purpose, and free time must also be spent for some purpose, whether for some health benefit, such as permitted sports, or psychological pleasure, such as reading, or spiritual nourishment, such as night prayer, reciting Quran and Hadith, and supererogatory prayer and worship. But if one's purpose is killing time, then that is no legitimate purpose, for time is life, and killing time is killing life. Hence, those who spend long times playing chess, or backgammon, or in idle chatting or illegitimate entertainment, they are not working for a purpose that satisfies the mind, like those who wander around cafes, clubs, and streets, seeking to kill time, as if time was one of their enemies. The key to treating this problem is to believe that man is able to change his likes and dislikes as he wills, that is able to change his taste as he wills, and can thus train his taste to like things which it has never tried, and to abhor things it has liked before. For most people are able, with strong will, to divide their free time between what will benefit them physically, mentally, and spiritually. It is unfortunate that the majority of people believe that reading light stories or cheap magazines is sufficient nourishment for their minds, and consider it sufficient for their intellectual leisure, while they are nothing but intoxicants for the mind and stimulants of sexual desires. A little patience and strength will prepare one for serious study and beneficial reading. Every cultured person is able to motivate interest in some serious field of knowledge which he can study in depth, whether it is literature, biology, physics, history of a particular era, or any field of human knowledge. He could then feed his interest in it, then devote a part of his day for studying it, such that he becomes a new person, with a particular strength, with a respectable character, and with some benefit to bring to himself, to his people, and to others. Thus the Ummah will be rich through its sons and daughters in all branches of science, knowledge, and arts, relying on each in their particular specialization on some aspect of life. The gathering of people would then become of higher standard, their thinking will become more noble, their lives more dynamic, and they could learn from each other some culture, knowledge, literature, behavior, and valuing of time. Culture would then elevate, minds would expand, and life would become more noble. Vitality would increase, and methods of living would be more facilitated and prosperous. People would feel that it is their duty to nourish their minds just as they nourish their bodies, and that without such nourishment they can have no life, and that such nourishment is impossible without conserving time, gaining it, and optimizing benefits from it. Society and all people would then prosper in terms of environment, intellect, industry, production, contribution, and benefit. Make it a habit to always ask yourself, what have I done in my free time? Have I acquired some health, wealth, knowledge, or benefit for myself or others? Also question whether your free time is subjected to the rule of your mind, such that you had some praiseworthy purpose for which you spent your time. If that is the case, then you have succeeded. Otherwise, keep trying until you do succeed. A poem states, "The patient one is likely to achieve his purpose, and the one who persists in knocking is likely to enter." Thus, a little time dedicated every day for a specific task may change the course of your life and make you more upright and elevated than you could imagine. Ours is a nation that lives only a tenth of what it should live, or even less than that, whether concerning its economic, productivity, intellectual culture, or state of health, while the rest of its life is spent in vain, filled with laziness and idleness, devoted to such things as backgammon, chess, idle chat, or simply nothing. All that is required for it to live its potential is discovering a way of filling time fruitfully and subject it to the rule of divine law and reason. Time is life, and it is dearer than gold. The rightly guided teacher Ustad Hassan al-Banna, may Allah have mercy on him, wrote in an article under the title, "Time is Life." It is said, time is made of gold. That is true from the point of view of material value, for those who only measure existence by that scale. But time is life for those who think beyond that. Is your life in this universe anything other than the time which passes between birth and death? Gold can vanish, but you may acquire many times what you lose. But you cannot return lost time that has passed. Therefore, time is more precious than gold, and dearer than diamonds, or any precious stone, or any profit, for it is life itself. Success is not only dependent on a precise plan and suitable conditions alone, but is furthermore dependent on the appropriate time, and our forefathers used to warn against premature as well as belated decisions. Success ensures that when an action takes place, that's the moment appropriate for it, and Allah measures the night and the days. Thus, those most affected by loss and failure are the heedless. Many are the jinns and men we have made for hell. They have hearts wherewith they understand not, and eyes wherewith they see not, and ears wherewith they hear not. They are like cattle, nay, more misguided, for they are heedless. Among the most wonderful depictions of the Prophet ﷺ concerning the value of time, there is not a new day that rises except that a caller calls out, "O son of Adam, I am a new creation, and a witness over your action. Hence, take your provision from me, for I shall not return until the day of judgment." Indeed, there is nothing in existence that is more precious than time. Times vary in their blessing, and beneficial output, and efficiency. There are times that are more blessed than others, days that are better in the sight of Allah than others, and months that are more noble than others. As a poem states, it is blessing which makes an eye excel its counterpart, and makes a day the master of another. The Messenger of Allah ﷺ guided us to the realization of the value of time and the way to benefit from it in many hadith, indicating that the believer is between two fears, a past which has gone, with which he knows not how Allah will reckon, and a future that yet remains, for which he knows not what Allah has decreed. Thus, one must take from oneself for oneself, from one's present life for the hereafter, from youth before old age, and from life before death. Thus, O dear brother, make use of time, for time is like a sword. Abandon saying, "I will," and then delaying, for there is nothing more harmful than this, and ask Allah for guidance and success for accepted deeds and beneficial time. May Allah guide us and you, O dear reader, to conserve time and fill it with pious actions and beneficial knowledge, and make us among those aware of the value of time and life, such that they do not wrong themselves, their country, or their ummah, and such are the rightly guided. The End.